In this lesson, we're going to be using the topology that we've been using all along with a Nexus 5000 on one end, a MDS 9216 on another end that are connected via two fiber channel ports. On the Nexus side, fiber channel 215, and on the MDS side, fiber channel 1/13. In this lesson, we're going to go through configuring switch ports. The first thing that we need to do, especially when we're dealing with a Nexus 5000, is make sure we have the right type of switch ports and make sure that we have the right features enabled. So the first thing we're going to do is visit our Nexus 5000. We're going to enable the correct features, allowing us to use the fiber channel features that we want, and then we're going to make sure that we have our ports configured appropriately. So I will show you how to do that. Then we're going to go ahead and configure the ports on the 5000 by switching to the configure terminal, changing to the correct fiber channel port, which on the Nexus side is going to be 2/15 and on the MDS side is going to be 1/13. We're then going to investigate some of the features that we have as far as port type and speed and hard coding and auto, and then we're going to make sure the port's not shut down. We'll exit out of our configuration, possibly save our configuration, and then look at the different interfaces and make sure that our configurations are correct. We'll then do some other show commands. So let's go ahead and head to the switches. So here I am connected to my Nexus 5000, and the first thing that I want to do is make sure that I have the right features enabled in order to be able to take advantage of the fiber channel capability of the switch. So in order to enable features, I first need to be in my configure terminal mode. I'm now in my configure terminal mode, and I'm assuming that all my correct licensing is installed, but in order to turn on my fiber channel feature set, I'm going to say feature FCOE. Now when I enable feature FCOE, it turns on all the fiber channel services that I need, and it actually modifies the quality of service policies and actually the MTU sizes to be able to accept the right size packets for fiber channel and fiber channel over Ethernet. The next thing that I need to do on this switch, because I'm not sure that I've done it yet, is I want to go ahead and create my vSAN 100, and I want to put my ports in that vSAN. So I'm going to go to vSAN database, and I'm going to say vSAN 100 name CCNA underscore Fabric, and then I'm going to say vSAN 100 interface fiber channel. Oh, well, there's a problem. I don't know if I have the correct fiber channel interfaces. So in a Nexus 5000, I have the capability of having something called unified ports. Now, unified ports can allow my switch to use ports in a couple different ways. One is an Ethernet port, and the other one is a fiber channel port. So if I go show module, I can see that I have 32 ports that are fixed configuration or that come with the device itself, and I can also see that in slot 2 I have a flexible unified port module or a 16-port UP module. Now, when I change my ports from Ethernet to fiber channel configuration, it requires me to reboot the switch. So a lot of times it's easier to actually change or have my fiber channel ports in an expansion module, so I can actually just reboot that individual module instead of having to reboot the switch when I need to make a change in the number of fiber channel or Ethernet ports I have. So a lot of my customers choose to put most of their fiber channel connectivity in an expansion module, and that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. So in order to modify my fiber channel ports in my configuration, I go to slot 2. Once I have changed to the slot, I now have the ability to change the switch ports from Ethernet to fiber channel or fiber channel to Ethernet. Now this needs to be done in a contiguous manner. So for instance, I can change ports 1 through 16 to Ethernet, and 17 through 32 to fiber channel. But the lower numbers always have to be Ethernet, and the higher numbers always have to be fiber channel. For instance, I can't change ports 1, 5, and 7 to Ethernet and the rest to fiber channel. Like I said, it has to be contiguous, so it has to be start with 1, so 1 through 16, and the fiber channel ports have to start at the higher number and go down. So for instance, 32 through 17 could be fiber channel. In this case, I'm dealing with that module. It has 16 ports. I'm going to change them all to fiber channel. So I type in port, I type in the range, which in this case is 1 through 16. I type in the type, and then I pick either Ethernet or fiber channel. In this case, I'm going to choose fiber channel and press enter. Once I do that, I have to go ahead and reboot my device for the changes to take effect. So I want to exit out, I want to save my configuration, I want to reboot the device, and when the device comes back up and I do a show running config, or if I do a show interface brief, I am now going to see that instead of having ports 1/1 through 32 all Ethernet, as well as ports 2/1 through 16 all Ethernet, I'm actually going to see that ports 2/1 through 16 are fiber channel, which I can see by the FC in front of the interface. And as I continue to scroll down, I can now see that my Ethernet ports 1/1 through 32 are all still Ethernet. So I've changed my port config, so I can now add those ports to the correct vSAN. So let's go back into vSAN database, vSAN 100, name CCNA _A, and then vSAN 100 interface fiber channel 2/15. Now that that interface is a member of the vSAN, I can go ahead and configure that individual port. So the first thing that I want to do is change to interface fiber channel 2/15. And I'm going to do a question mark here and show you what configuration options I have. So I can set the switch port, speed, for instance. I can hard code the speed, or I can select auto negotiate. And once again, fiber channel is a little bit different than Ethernet. I have different speed settings. So 1000, 2000, 4000, and 8000 are available to me with this SFP that I have in this port. I'm going to leave it as auto negotiate, but I can hard code it if I am having problems. I can also set the mode. So if you'll remember the different modes that we have, E mode or expansion means that I want to connect two switches together, whereas F port or fabric mode means that I want to connect a node like a server or a storage device to that port. In this case, I want this port to connect to the MDS switch, and I'm going to set it to E mode. I could very easily leave this in auto mode as well. Now, with this interface, I can go ahead and set a description. I do that by typing switch port description and give it a name. Link to 9216. I can also make sure that I have trunking enabled on this port by saying switch port trunk, and then tell it which parameters I'd like to use. So for instance, which vSANs are allowed, or what mode of trunking I would like to be in, whether I want it to auto negotiate the trunk, whether I want it to always be trunking, or whether I would like trunking off. And trunking allows us to be able to put more than one vSAN over that link, as opposed to just having one vSAN ride over that link. Finally, the last thing that I could do, similar to an Ethernet port, is I can actually put this port into a channel group or a port channel. And I would do that by specifying the channel group, then give it a number, and press enter. The last thing I might want to do is make sure that this port is turned on by doing a no shut. Now that I know that my port's turned on and everything is configured correctly, I can actually go over to my MDS switch and do the same things over here. For instance, I want to go to Configure Terminal so I can make my changes. I want to go to my vSAN database. I want to say vSAN 100 name CCNA _A. I want to say vSAN 100 interface fiber channel 1/13. I want to go ahead and exit out of that, go to my interface fiber channel 1/13. Now from here I have very similar options. I can go to switch port and then I can add a description, which is link to 5500 or Nexus 5K. I can set the speed. Once again, 1000, 2000, 4000, 8000 or auto. I can set my trunking, whether I want it to trunk or not, whether it should be auto, off, on, or which vSANs are actually allowed on the trunk by using the allowed command. I can also set the mode. Once again, I can set it to E for a ISL link between two switches. I can set it to F. The MDS has a couple more modes than the Nexus does, so it's got like fabric loop mode and NP port mode, which is for MPV, and also auto. So we're going to go ahead and set that to an E port because that's what we set the other side to, and we're going to have a switch that connects on the other end, and then we're going to go ahead and make sure that it's turned up. Now that we've turned it up, we can do show interface FC 1/13, and we can see that this port is actually coming up right now. It's in trunking mode. Not all vSANs are up right now, but if I keep waiting and do that show command again, I will see that now I have vSANs 100 and others up on that link. So I can see that FC 1/13 is up. It is an E port, and in this case trunk mode is on, so I'm allowing more than one vSAN. But the important part is that I can see that I've got my vSAN 100 up, and I have some vSANs that are isolated. For instance, 200 does not exist on the 5K, so that vSAN has been isolated. But 100, 2000, and 2011 do exist on the 5K, so all of those vSANs are up and they're working over that trunk link. Now I made a bunch of changes to both switches. It's very important to remember after I make those changes to do my copy, run, start. Otherwise that running config will mismatch my startup config, and when I do a reboot I might not have my changes. So in this case, now my changes are saved. I'm all set and ready to go. My links are up in between the two switches. My vSAN 100 is over them, and we're ready to move on to the next step. Please join me for our next session, verifying name server login.